Continues to stay in the news for the wrong reasons. This week, let's start with the Ray Rice story, which seems to be in the news every week. But this time, it's not Ray Rice who's taking the flack. On Friday, it was reported that Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti and several other high-ranking officials, including General Manager Ozzie Newsome, tried to work to get Ray Rice out of jail, and the video of him knocking his then-fiancée out from becoming public. They also tried to make sure that Ray Rice faced a less stiff suspension by the NFL. After the video of Ray Rice striking his then-fiancée became public, Bisciotti then cut Ray Rice, but the owner tried to bribe Rice by offering him a front office job for his silence. Another player who found himself in the headlines for the wrong reasons is Vikings running back Adrian Peterson, who is facing a child abuse charge in Texas. On Monday, the Vikings came out and said that Peterson, who would be active for this week's game, but that didn't happen. On Wednesday, the Vikings reversed course and placed him on an exempt list. This list allows Peterson to still take in his $11.75 million salary for this season, but he is not allowed to be involved in any of the team's practices, games, events, and he must stay away from the team's complex as well. On Tuesday, Florida State announced that it would suspend their Heisman-winning quarterback, Jameis Winston, for the first half of this past Saturday's game against Clemson. The suspension was because Winston got up on a table in the school's common area and yelled a vulgar statement. Late Friday night, Florida State announced that it had increased Winston's penalty to the whole game, citing that Winston was not completely truthful about the incident. Jimbo Fisher, the Florida State head coach, said Winston could come to the game but could not dress. Yet, when the team came out for warm-ups, Winston was dressed, but that ended quickly by Fisher, who sent Winston back to the locker room to change out of his gear. Florida State won the game in overtime, 23-17. The UFC is now taking a strong stand against domestic violence, starting with releasing light heavyweight Thiago Silva, who was released after new information came out about his attempted murder case involving his ex-wife. Silva just re-signed by the UFC after he was released earlier in the summer because when the charges first came out, they thought he was guilty, and he was re-signed because the charges were dropped. Also, the organization has suspended the number 4 ranked light heavyweight in the world, Anthony Rumble Johnson, indefinitely after the mother of his children reported that he attacked her and knocked out 2 of her teeth in 2012. The Ravens pummeled the Steelers last week. Trevor Sheets joins me to see if the Steelers looked more like the steel curtain instead of a damp blanket.
After a lackluster performance last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers made a big statement Sunday night by beating the Carolina Panthers 37-19, but also suffered some major losses to their defense. Cornerback Ike Taylor has a broken right forearm, outside linebacker Jarvis Jones left with a wrist injury, and rookie inside linebacker Ryan Shazier with a knee injury. Jones and Taylor are candidates to go on the short-term injured reserve list, meaning they could return after 8 weeks, but the status of Shazier is unknown. The offense did come to life for the Black and Gold, getting 100-yard games from both Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount. This is the first time the Steelers have had 2 100-yard rushers in one game since 1986. The Steelers will host the 0-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers Sunday at Heinz Field. The Pittsburgh Pirates took 2 of 3 from the Milwaukee Brewers this past weekend, but each game was highly contested. Friday night, the Pirates won 4-2 with all runs coming in the 8th inning, most notably a 3-run home run by catcher Russell Martin. Saturday and Sunday gave us 2 1-0 games, with the Brewers winning Saturday and the Pirates winning Sunday. Before action on Monday, the Pirates led the Brewers by 4.5 games in the NL wildcard and were tied with the San Francisco Giants for the top wildcard spot. The Pirates also trailed the St. Louis Cardinals by only 2.5 games for the NL Central lead. Coming up this week, the Pirates go to Atlanta for a 4-game series and then end the season next weekend with a 3-game set against the Cincinnati Reds. The Pitt Panthers blew a 10-point halftime lead on Saturday, losing to the Iowa Hawkeyes by a final of 24-20. The Panthers wasted good performances from their young trio of stars, with James Conner rushing for 157 yards on 29 carries and a touchdown. Quarterback Chad Wojtek had his best game of the season, going 19 of 29 for 250 yards and 1 interception. And receiver Tyler Boyd had 10 catches for 153 yards. The Panthers' next game is Saturday at home versus Akron. Lastly, the Pittsburgh Penguins started their preseason schedule this week with a game Monday versus the Red Wings, Tuesday at the Blue Jackets, Thursday versus the Wild, and another game Saturday at home versus the Blue Jackets.
Thanks, Trevor. After our final break, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has been under fire for his handling of the off-field issues. The Case of the Week crew will join me to discuss the future of the commissioner.